Is opposed to mercy and compassion. We've got a whole perverted view of what the judgment of God is.
Goes right underneath wrath.
Right? His judgment brings forth mercy. And what's powerful about the Good Samaritan is that Jesus is actually describing Abba. He's not telling us how we should be. He's describing the way Abba is. He's describing what's the most powerful part of the law. Love God, love your neighbor. Well, who is our neighbor? We miss this whole part of what Jesus describes. The Samaritan is the sworn enemy of Jewish people. They hate Samaritans. They've been raised to hate Samaritans. Samaritans are like against God. Right? And so when Jesus goes into when the guy says, who is my neighbor? When Jesus goes into the Samaritan, you know what you could displace Samaritan and say, your enemy is your neighbor. Right. Okay, now put God in there. God said, my enemy is my neighbor. Now who was his enemy? Us. We were enemies in our minds. That doesn't mean it was a figment of our imagination. But our definition of enemy isn't the same as God's. We weren't enemies of God in the sense God was warring against us. We were enemies of God in that he was of one spirit and we were of a completely different spirit. So in our minds, we were not the mind of Christ and he was. So we were enemies of God. God is the Good Samaritan. And when he found his enemy laying half dead and naked and bloodied on the street from their fornication with the thief, he comes and he picks that guy up and he fills him with oil and wine and he takes him into his house and nurtures him back to life.
And that's the difference of healing